In this video, you're going to learn how to graph in standard form on Delta Math. Delta Math asks for 5 points, whereas other programs will only ask for 3. So it's just a couple extra steps on top of what I have taught you in the other video and you'll see in your other classes. So the first step is always identify the vertex, h, k. It's just your x and y values when we plug it all in. Decide where your axis of symmetry will be. That'll help you find the reflection points. Plot your y-intercept. It's always the c in standard form. Use that axis of symmetry to plot another point, and then find your x-intercepts and plot those. This last step, number 5, is the one that Delta Math is asking you to do that other classes and other programs won't, but it's always a good step to know. Alright, so the first one is there. It says graph the equation y equals x squared minus 4x plus 3. The first thing you have to do is find your vertex. Your vertex is always your h, which is negative b all over 2a, and then we plug that in to get your k. So the first thing we have to do is identify our a, b, and our c. Our a here is 1, our b is negative 4, and our c is 3. So my h value is going to be negative 4 all over 2 times 1 for a. Negative 4 becomes a positive 4, all divided by 2, which is 2. So I have my h and my vertex, which I'm just going to put right here. Now I got to figure out my k. To get my k, I'm going to plug that value in for every x I see here. So y equals 2 squared minus 4 times 2 plus 3. 2 squared is 4 minus 8 plus 3. 4 minus 8 is negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. So my vertex is 2, negative 1. So I'm going to plot that first, which would go right there. Now I'm going to plot my y-intercept after I just draw my straight little line through. My y-intercept is my c value, which is 3. And I go over to the other direction since that point was 2 away. Now here we have to also find our roots because I only gave 3 points, but they want 5. So I'm going to look at the right of that equal sign, and I'm going to find my x-intercepts because that's what they're asking for. They want the roots. So I have to figure out, I have to factor what number goes into 3 but adds together to be negative 4. We can also do our AC method. So 1 times 3 is 3. Two numbers that multiply together to be 3, but adds together to be my b, which is negative 4, which would be negative 3 times negative 1. I rewrite this inside with negative 3x and negative 1x, and I factor it. Group, take an x out here, take a negative 1 out here, and I'm going to have x minus 1 go together, x minus 3 go together, and now I'm going to set both of those equal to 0. Here, x will equal 1. Here, x will equal 3. So I'm going to plot my 1 there, because it's technically the point 1, 0. And I'm going to plot the 3 here, because that point is 3, 0, since they're my x-intercepts. And then you just graph your parabola. Alright, let's try another one together. First thing I want to do is find my vertex. So my h is going to be negative b all over 2a. My b here is negative 6. So a negative 6 all over 2 times an a of 1. Negative 6 is a positive 6 divided by 2, which is 3. So that's my h of my vertex. I am now going to use that and plug it back in. To get my k. 9 minus 18 plus 8. 9 minus 18 is negative 9 plus 8, which is negative 1. So my vertex is 3, negative 1. Going to just draw a quick line so I can see my axis of symmetry. I also know my y-intercept is 8 from looking at it right there. To pick another point, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go 3 over, 1, 2, 3, and plot it. I then have to find my roots, or my x-intercepts. So I take this, set it equal to 0, and do the AC method to factor. 1 times 8 is 8. Two numbers that multiply together to be 8 but add together to be negative 6 are negative 4 and negative 2. So then I'm just going to group x squared. Instead of negative 6, I'm putting negative 4x minus 2x plus 8. Group the first two together and the last two. I can factor out an x of the first, leaving x minus 4. Factor out a negative 2, leaving x minus 4. Put the x and the negative 2 together. Set both of those factors equal to 0. X is going to equal 2 here because I add 2 to both sides, and x will equal 4 here because I add 4 to both sides. So my x-intercept, the first one is 2, and the other one is 4. And then I just graph. And let's try one more together. First thing I want to do is find my vertex. Negative b all over 2a. My negative 6 all over 2 times negative 1, because my a here is negative 1. Positive 6 divided by a negative 2 is a negative 3. So that's my h of my vertex. Now I plug it back in. To get my k. Now be careful. Remember there's that negative outside here. I didn't put it in the parentheses. A negative 3 squared is a positive 9. Positive 18 minus 5. Now this is going to be a negative 9 plus 18 minus 5. Negative 9 plus 18 is 9. Minus 5 is 4. So my vertex is negative 3, comma 4. Going to just graph or look at my axis of symmetry. I know my y-intercept is negative 5. I am 1, 2, 3 away, so I need to go 1, 2, 3 away. And then I also need my roots. So I'm going to take my equation at the top, set it equal to 0, and I'm going to factor. Now let's remember, we can never factor, or we don't like factoring when a is negative, so I need to take that negative 1 out of everything and divide both sides by negative 1. This becomes a positive x squared, this becomes a positive 6x, and this becomes a positive 5. 0 divided by negative 1 is just 0. You always need to get rid of that negative if a is negative. Alright, so now we need to take the AC method. 1 times 5 is 5. Two numbers that multiply together to be 5, but add together to be 6 are 1 and 5, I'm sorry. I then am going to group plus 5x plus 5. Put the first two and the last two together. Take an x out, leaving x plus 1. Take a 5 out, leaving x plus 1. They factor to be x plus 5, x plus 1. I then set both equal to 0. Subtract 5. One x-intercept is -5. Subtract 1. My other x-intercept is -1. So I'm going to plot a -5 and a -1 and draw my parabola. Alright, if you have any questions, just stop into office hours.